Mr. Majority Leader, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to acknowledge a good minority leader's closing comments. And, you know, I was talking with somebody earlier, and I just wanted to note kind of the air of optimism that we started this day with, and I think that has been expressed in the course of this debate. Certainly thanking the ranking members for their comments and questions, and certainly the chairs of Appropriations and Finance for all of their work, and obviously everybody in this room who serves on either Appropriations or Finance or one of the other committees this past legislative session. But I think it's important to acknowledge that optimism. You know, it's been a tough week for all of us, right? Personally, and each of us being here for long hours and not being home and not getting the sleep perhaps we're accustomed to. There were a couple of moments where things, you know, felt less than good, but yet we responded. We responded in a very different way, right? We had a difficult Thursday evening and came back yesterday and worked in a way that I think we all expect ourselves to work, and certainly worked in a way that our constituents expect us to work. And I want to acknowledge that because I think it's important. I've been talking a lot about this past week in our press conferences about trying to ensure that we restore the faith of the people we represent in some of the most important institutions in our state. And one of them is this room that we're sitting in. And I think sometimes when we're here every day, I don't want to say we take it for granted, but we get used to being here. And we often have to remind ourselves how much it matters to the people outside this building about what we do here, knowing that they're not watching all the time. I want to believe everybody's watching us on CTN. It's mostly just our spouses and children wondering when we're going to get home. But, you know, it's about what we do here and how we conduct ourselves. And I often say when I bring a tour group through here, when I speak to a group, the minority leader and I last year voted with each other 78% of the time. I think that number will actually probably be a little bit higher this year. And often when people hear that, there's a disbelief that that's actually how we conduct ourselves, because the outside world and the messages that our constituents received are often one that makes them believe that we're just constantly at each other's throats, that we can't possibly agree on anything, that there isn't bipartisanship. And I'm saying all that because I don't want to forecast how this budget's going to be. I suspect there'll be bipartisan votes for this budget, and I think we should all be proud of that. I acknowledge that there's concern about the long-term fiscal health of the state. Is this kind of revenue generation that we've been seeing over the last couple of years going to continue into the future? Making changes to the guardrails, or guardrails that were done on a bipartisan basis and have really moved Connecticut to a very different place than it was when I got here 18 years ago. And so we're going to have those bumps, we're going to have those disagreements, but we have a budget, right, that is going to meet the needs of our communities who have been screaming out for help all session. We're going to have a budget that invests in perhaps our most important resource, important future thing that we have, which is our children and K-12 education. We're putting that $300 million into that child care endowment, right, so that we can support families and allow them to get back to work, to ensure that women who continue to primarily bear the burden of child rearing can get back to the workforce and feel good about where they're leaving their children during the day. There's no doubt that the future, there's always concern about it, right? We're always worried about what that's going to look like, and it's right to do that, but in this moment, we have an opportunity to invest in our children, in our families, in our communities, in our workforce, in healthcare, in our state. And that's an awesome opportunity that we all have here together as Republicans and Democrats to do something right in that regard. And I'm confident that we're about to do that. And I encourage everybody to support this budget, and let's do this together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.